Good morning, Bears. Hey, before we dive into this ancient civilization, look at the little history right here. Oh yeah, look, J-Lo in the house. I like this part.
This land is your land. This land is my land.
Bring it, J-Lo.
From California.
That's us, California, baby.
To the New York Islands. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water.
Wow, J-Lo's nailing it. I'm gonna pause that. Oh, we can keep it on the background. Man, that's powerful. Whatever side you're on, Democrat, Republican, Independent, let's keep the American spirit. Freedom, helping the poor, everybody equal under the eyes of God. Now that's based on, as a transition into our lesson, the eyes of which God? Well, historically, under the eyes of the God we are studying today. Judaism, Christianity, those are the principles that the Ten Commandments, which you're going to learn about, that the Constitution and American laws are based on. Now, there's some debate there on whether that should always be that way, because those good laws maybe don't have to be tied to any one God. Now, remember, when I say one God, that's different than one religion, because part of our Constitution is everybody has the right to believe whatever they want and to worship whatever God they want, including no God whatsoever. And so we have rules, and it's the Constitution. And next year, you're going to really dive into that. I think it's eighth grade. You really dive into that with Mr. Lopez, and that's some great stuff going on there. But anyway, today's Inauguration Day. Joe Biden will be the president shortly. I did pause that so we could jump into the musical selection by J-Lo. But he will be the president shortly. And once again, though, it's the government, it's the American government that has the power. So whether it was Trump, Obama, any president that's come along, they are one man in a system that has been put in place that, while not perfect and needs to continually be reformed, we need to continually challenge ourselves for those ideals of freedom, individual freedom, and also the rights for all people for the pursuit of happiness. And so that's an American ideal that we can get behind, no matter who is president. All right, let's get into ancient civilizations. This is a great, fun little intro video. Remember, before we do that, let's take a look at some slideshows. Like we like to do, we like to learn from each other. Probably going to throw you in a breakout room today for a little bit, and you can show off your slideshow. Let's go. We're going to try a breakout room with just two people. Put a little accountability on the line. If the person you get in there does not have anything done, help them. Ask them why. Why did you not open up your slideshow? Why do you not understand what to do? Maybe you can help them. But if you only have one slide done, then you show your one slide and explain it to the best you can. So let's get an overview of what a slideshow should look like on a second day of the week. Usually that's a Tuesday. Today's a Wednesday. Let's take a look. So Zamara's slideshow, history. We know what we're learning about. We know who did the slideshow. Judaism timeline. Now this one's a little blurred, but what you're going to see today is an animated timeline, really fun. And I think what we're going to focus on this week is primary and secondary sources. Also, collaboration, not corroboration, corroboration, where two texts come together to say something. Doesn't mean it's right, because what if the two people are both wrong about the same thing? So we're going to look for some cooperation, maybe touch into some grapes. Going to try to make it fun. Today's video is really fun, entertaining, animated drawings to tell this story of Judaism to give us an overflow. And then tomorrow we're going to dive into Joseph, Disney animated movie. Watch 10 minutes of that. See if from what we watch from that, does it corroborate with the ancient text from the Bible? Did the secondary source, somebody making a movie, do a good job of corroborating with the primary source? And once again, we got a whole nother week of Judaism, so it's kind of a fast week. But this is what we were talking about. Notice the map, land of Canaan. Abraham went in there. Like I said, this one's tough to read, but you can see there's a destruction of Jerusalem AD 70. That also is the destruction of a temple. Now, we're going to dive into the temple stuff next time we come back to Judaism. This week, we're basically going up through Moses with the Egyptians and the pyramids. We're going to cover some of Joseph and Moses this week. That's even a lot to cover. And then we'll go into King David and Goliath, Solomon, what happened to these temples? How come a tabernacle turned into a temple and things like that? All right? Monotheism. This is important. We're going to do this in Hinduism as well. Usually, everybody says Christianity, monotheistic. Judaism, monotheistic. But did they always believe in one God? Are there different views of this? Monotheism is the belief in one God. A narrower definition of monotheism is the belief in the existence of only one God that created the world. Interesting. Is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and intervenes in the world. Boy, you could go, there's whole careers in just theology, just on monotheism. Pretty interesting. Omnipotent means all-powerful. Omnipresent means everywhere at once. Omniscient means knows everything at once, knows everything that's ever happening. And intervenes in the world means it has an active role, because you could be monotheistic. God made the world, bam, sat back and watched. So that would be different type of monotheism. So this is a pretty good definition. Good job. These three symbols, Christianity holds to monotheism, Judaism holds to monotheism, and Islam, Muslims, hold to monotheism. Now, their three monotheisms are different. Christianity has something called the Trinity. They would believe Jesus is literally this one God, 3 in 1. It's called the Trinity. Judaism, nope, not going to say that. Islam, not going to say that. Just one Father God. Canaan, the land we've talked about. You can see here, we're going to write an epic adventure story later in a couple weeks. Notice Egypt, Canaan, Hammurabi, Babylonians, lot going on there. Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, which is also called the Tanakh or sometimes the Mikra, is the canonical collection of Hebrew scriptures, including the Torah. Interesting. These texts are almost exclusively in biblical Hebrew with a few passages in biblical Aramaic. I was thinking the Tanakh was the same as the Torah, so we keep learning as historians. So maybe this Tanakh includes some other writings that are not technically what we call the Old Testament in Christian worldview. Abraham is the common patriarch of the Abrahamic religions, including Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. We're going to learn about him next. Abraham's journey to Canaan. This is a good one. This slide I really wanted to have in here. Because remember, if you're going with the biblical passages, Abraham was called by God to basically leave Babylonia. You can see down here where we start. That's Babylonia. There's Babylonia. And so he was just a herder. He's a sheep herder. Like we learned about in the ancient man, going around, they move place to place. They need to find places to feed their lambs. So we're not talking about big cities. We're not talking about the pyramids over here. While these pyramids are going on, while there's ziggurats going on and these big buildings we saw with the Sumerians and the Assyrians and the Akkadians and the Babylonians, they're cruising around as little sheep herders. Well, God appears to him and says, go into the land of Canaan, which I promised you. And you can see this journey that he takes with a lot of adventures as told in the Bible. Isaac and Jacob, we'll get into that later, but Isaac actually becomes Israel, and that's where the name Israelites comes from. There's many different tribes, and so even though we think of Judaism as one giant religion, at one point there is 12 different tribes, and so they had their own little things going on. Let's see, Joseph in the Bible, we're going to dive into this tomorrow. Moses, we're going to get into him Thursday and Friday, we hope. And this also reminds us of our Egyptian studies. And there's our concepts. Well organized. This is a perfect slideshow for the second day of the week. Good job, Zamara. All right, let's go into breakout rooms. Hopefully you have at least one slide done. And all I want you to do is basically do what I just did for you guys. Go in, share the slide that you think is most interesting. Now, some of you might have more information than others. Some of you go to church. Lena, this is her history. And so she has more to share. So I'd say try to share for at least a minute. Whoever's not sharing, the other person, I want you to ask at least one question. Say, what did you learn about this? Or why is that person important? Or where did you get your slideshow? Or is this a primary source or a secondary source? I want you to ask one question of the person who shares. Let them answer, and then you flip it, and the other person goes. It's called a pair share. So start off sharing. Listener, I want you to ask one question, share again, flip it. I'll give you 3 minutes in the chat room. All right, let's go do that now. Chat it up. All right, good job. Now, if you're at home, share it with your mom, share it with your dad, share it with your little brother. Talk to yourself, because whenever you write, whenever you speak, whatever you're writing or speaking about, you are learning more. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the video yesterday or in the live Zooms, but some of you guys are doing these great writing, 3-4 paragraph CERs, and some of you just do short ones. Well, short has its purpose. It is succinct. You can tell a story, you can get it done. So sometimes short is great. But if it's just for your own well-being, the more you write, the more you learn, because you have to think in order to write. When you're just pondering things, that's great. But if you don't have to write it or speak it, it sometimes doesn't stick in your mind as much. If you have to write something down or speak something. So when you're studying for a test, you should write things down and speak things when you can. So if you're at home and missed the Zoom today, just go ahead and share with somebody that you can. Now, if you're in Zoom today, we'll share these out to the class, some of the things we heard and learned about in our breakout rooms. But now let's dive into an overview. This is a fun little video. I think you're going to like it. If you're in class, we're going to play it for you in class over Zoom, so you can just sit back and relax. If you're watching this video on your own, go into the link in groups, click the link that says Overview Tanakh/Old Testament. It's a video link. Go click it and watch it. I hope it works. You just never know with YouTube. If it doesn't work the way you're logged in now, log in with a different account, your parents' account, and you can watch this video. All right, here we go. If you're in class, we're going to watch the video now. All right, I love that video. Pretty cool. These guys are talented. Now, keep in mind, I believe, this is another thing, there's so many things we can learn about in history, but we just tap into them as we get there. I believe this is from the perspective of a Christian talking about the Old Testament. Now, usually, the Christian and the Jewish person will be in 90% agreement, because they're looking at the Word of God. Now, when I say 90% agreement, there's Jewish people that are in disagreement. There's Christians that are in disagreement. Many different people. There's many ways to interpret the Bible. But in general, about these stories, just historically, I liked this one. I do like to go to the primary source of a Jewish person telling about their Jewish religion, and we will do that with our Joseph, because I believe the creators of Joseph do come from a Jewish perspective, which once again is not that much different. But I love the animation of this. So perspective is important. Remember, when you're going to a source, you want to know, are they Christian? Are they Jewish? Are they atheist? That could make a difference on what they're telling you. And then we want to know, are they reliable? Do they have a point of view? Are they trying to sell you something? So always keep that in mind. That's why I share that about this. But take a look at this. Pretty exciting. You've got Torah, the teaching, Nevi'im, the prophets, Ketuvim, the writings, and look at that epic story. It's all right there. If you want to screenshot this, pause the video. You could put this into one of your slides, because it's pretty good and wraps up here. Okay, so now let's dive into the corroboration element of our learning. Tomorrow we're going to dive into either grapes or primary, secondary source. We'll see where the video leads us, because I wanted you guys to dive into Joseph now that we have our timeline. Where does Joseph land on that timeline anyway? So we have Abraham and Sarah tell the people about Judaism, 1800 BCE. Remember, 1800 BCE, pyramids are going. I believe it should be either the Assyrians or the Babylonians are in power. And remember, when the Babylonians were in power, they were dominated most of it, but there probably were still some Assyrians left. So it's just a matter of who owned the most land at the time. Now, check this out. We jump all the way to 1440, the Jews leave Egypt. That's Moses. All this here we're going to do when we come back the next time we do Judaism. So this is Moses, takes the Jews out of Egypt. This is 1800. That's 600 years from Abraham to Moses. Right in here is this guy named Joseph, and he's a fun little story, and so we're going to check on him tomorrow and do some grapes activities. But for today, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about that video we just watched, and you can go back and review it. Remember, the link is there, so you can go watch the video again. You could go click it. You could pause it here, and if you want, like I said, you could screenshot it, and you can look at this video and see where the timelines go. So here I found Moses here, and the laws are there. So since we're ending at Moses this week, you don't worry about this area. We're worrying about up in here. And if I'm doing this the correct way, I think I am. And then there's Abraham. So what corroborates? That means two different sources have the information. That's the word corroboration. So let's take a look real quick. Remember, if you don't know a word, you can come in and say corroboration. Let's just do that right now because I want to make sure we all know it. Corroboration. Tough word to say, kind of. Corroborating evidence. Let's find one that looks good. And if you want, there's Trumpy right there. Corroborate. Source analysis, corroboration, proof, science transformation. Let's look at, here we go. This is good. One expert says this, another expert says P. That means they corroborate. Expert 2 says that P. Expert 1 says that P. Do you have to go P now? But since they both say it, we say that it's P because two sources corroborate. Does that mean it's right? No. But it helps with your credibility when you can find two sources that corroborate. All right, just to remind you of that little review. Let's go back to Sophia's. So here's what I want you to do. Top slide. Add a new slide. Hit your plus button. Anyone you want is fine. Title and body's nice. And then write this. Corroborating sources. Okay. And what are you going to do? Write the one piece of information or two or three that you want that you found. So by looking at your time, not just this timeline, by the way, you can look here. Can you find that the monotheism? Can you find that in this? Can you corroborate monotheism in this? What about, let's see, can you corroborate that they lived in Canaan? Can you corroborate anything about the Bible? Well, this whole video is called Tanakh, but what about it? Can you corroborate something about Abraham? So you look at your Abraham slide and you look at this video. Do these things corroborate? Do they match up? Do they say the same thing? That's what we're trying to do right now. So all you need to do, look at this screenshot. You can pause the video right now if you want. Then go look at your slideshow and find something in your slideshow. And if you only have one slide, then you can use that slide. Or work on your slideshow some more first. And then create a corroborating sources. And what are our two sources? We have the video cartoon on Tanakh. And your second source is your slide. Your slide. Pick one. And then you're going to write the event, fact, information that the two sources corroborate. And I think I spelled corroborating wrong up here. Let's fix it. All right, that's it for today because we are pretty much running out of time. No CER yet. We're just getting information. Here's your sources. The video, one of your slides, find some information. Now, you can do more than one. I'd love it if you did more than one. But at least one event, fact, information that the two sources corroborate means they both are telling you the same thing. And then write what that information here is here. All right, get started. If you have any questions, you can stay in Zoom with me for a second. But create that top slide. We're corroborating two sources. Remember, cooperation. Two people corroborating two sources, a video source and a slide in one of your slides, any one of your slides you want. Find a piece of information they both say the same thing about, match them, put it in the slide. Now, if you want to put some pictures in your slide, that'd be great as well. All right, let's do this. Get to work. We'll see you tomorrow.